All right, so we want to shift gears, and we want to shift gears not only stories, but we want to shift the tone a bit. We want to talk about a story that has been a reoccurring story since the November elections. We're talking about the North Carolina Supreme Court race. So here's what we got. I want to read the headline because I kind of want to dig deep into this. A federal judge tells state board to certify Allison Riggs' victory in disputed North Carolina Supreme Court race. And so we wanted to bring in WCNC Charlotte's Julie Kay, who's been covering the story, honestly, since the very beginning. It's a recurring story, recurring guest. And look, Julie does a great job of breaking this stuff down because this stuff can get very complicated, very in the weeds. So thank you. No, thank you for so, okay, I read the headline. So are we finally at a place where this is over?
Here I am coming in with the bad news after the Met Gala talk. We're not there yet.
Okay.
We are getting so much closer, and we might be there.
Okay.
So the update is, I mean, we've been through this back and forth over and over and over again, but the update is exactly what you read. A federal judge intervened and said, no, Jefferson Griffin cannot do this. He cannot retroactively change the rules of the elections for these voters, which we can get into what that means in a minute. But that's really interesting because that's the most major federal intervention we've gotten. However, that judge built into his order a stay on the order for 7 days to give Jefferson Griffin a chance to appeal. So I've reached out to his team. They've not been the most responsive. I haven't heard back yet, and I don't really expect to, but based on everything we've seen so far and the sources I've spoken to, I do expect that Griffin will likely appeal, but we still have to wait for that to come in to see if that moves any further. If he doesn't, then it stands, and this would be the end of a very, very long race.
Is it likely that again, you haven't heard back, but I mean, do you?
I think so.
Yeah, okay.
Based on everything we've seen so far, I mean, this has gone through so many iterations, and at every turn that he's gotten a no, he has found another avenue to appeal it. Same with Allison Riggs, to be fair.
Right.
So I don't think that it necessarily ends here, but I think it's a lot harder to get around a federal order, especially because Judge Richard Myers, who's the one who brought this decision, is not some sort of liberal judge that they can argue, well, he's one-sided. He's actually appointed by Trump in his first term.
Okay.
And so I think that kind of puts a damper on any sort of argument that Griffin could make that this is an unfair order. We also did get some really interesting details in that decision. It was a written decision that was published last night, quite late. And so some of the questions that we talked about before of like, oh, what do you mean they didn't have their complete registration? What do you mean that these overseas voters didn't have their photo IDs? He explains, Judge Myers, in this, they didn't have their photo IDs because they go through the State Board of Elections to submit it. There's no mechanism to upload your photo ID as a part of this. So that's what they mean by you can't retroactively change the rules for these voters.
So it appears that Jefferson Griffin might be at the end of his road as far as, further challenging this. I know you've reached out to Griffin, his folks. It could be a challenge speaking with them. What about Allison Riggs? Have you got a chance to speak with them? Are they talking, or are they just, okay, let's just stay quiet until this is behind us?
So I did reach out to her team this morning and haven't heard anything concrete back yet. However, she has claimed victory already publicly on X, on social media. She says this is a concrete victory and that they're just going to run with it until Griffin appeals or makes that decision to not appeal publicly. She's going to keep going with that argument.
Wow. Again, that decision came down. We were talking about it in the newsroom. It came down, and you were covering something totally different. And this came down, and it's just like, but that sort of tracks to this story, right? Because I feel like a lot of the decisions and a lot of the stuff that's come out has come out late. Like, we don't see it until the next morning. Am I wrong for saying that?
No, very rarely after covering this for months have I gotten a heads up that something is coming.
Yeah.
So this was somewhat out of nowhere. Now, we knew Riggs did make an appeal to the federal court, but you never really know when that's going to come down. That's been a theme through all of this. We know pretty much all of the courts involved have said we're going to run through this expeditiously, but that is vague with the courts. Some court cases take years. We at one point talked about, well, if the federal court doesn't get involved or they decide not to, and they can't come to a decision here. We could go to another election. We could go to all the way up to the federal Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court. And so this, if this is the ending, is a much quicker ending than what we could have had ahead of us, which could have been multiple years of litigation. And can you imagine the election ads we'd be seeing?
And we were prepared for whatever the outcome was going to be. Yeah, Julie, thank you for breaking that down. I know you got a lot of work ahead of you today. You're speaking with experts. And again, thank you for breaking this down, because, again, this stuff, once you get into the weeds of it, it can be very complicated. And I'm just thinking about for the viewer, you see headlines, you read certain things, you're not really putting everything together. So for you to come on, thank you for doing that for
absolutely.
us.
And I'm not a legal expert by any means.
Yeah.
But from the sources I've talked to, it does sound like they expect Griffin to appeal again. But for now, it's looking in favor of Allison Riggs, is the headline.
And don't worry, Julie, she'll be back to break it down.
I fear I will be back again. We're not quite done.
I could see it in the near future. She's going to come back. Julie, thank you for your time here inside the Live Impact studio. It's been a process. So we're one step closer, I guess I could say.